What's up? What's up? What's up? Welcome back to the Justin Henry Show live here on the Champions Round YouTube and Twitch pages. We got a lot to talk about today. I'm wearing my Laker hat, and if you absolutely know, historic performance from my guy LeBron James last night, and this Laker team is ready. We ready, baby. Listen, we got a lot to talk about today. NBA playoff recaps, two classic games last night. Obviously, big news out of the NFL. Aaron Rodgers was traded. We also got my guy Michael Rockman coming to join the show to talk NFL draft with rumors heating up. Will Levis is about to go number one. A lot of crazy rumors starting, but I have to start with the GOAT. We don't acknowledge him as anything else. LeBron James is the GOAT. I don't want to hear no Michael Jordan. I don't want to hear no Wilt Chamberlain. I don't want to hear no Dr. J. I don't want to hear no Kevin Durant, Steph Curry. No names come out your mouth. R.I.P. Kobe, that's my dog. But there ain't nobody else better to do it than LeBron, baby. Are you kidding me? Last night, I'm 37. I could barely walk. My knees hurt. I got to ice my knees. I got to ice my wrists. Sometimes I hurt my back just getting up out of bed. LeBron carried this Laker team in the fourth quarter with clutch bucket and an overtime on little tiny small ass Dylan Brooks. Went beast mode, baby. That's week 2027 type game. I thought he could get a triple-double. I thought a triple-double would be like an incredible performance. But LeBron did something he's never done in his career. 20 and 20 in a playoff game. I don't want to hear nothing else. Look, if you had Michael Jordan as the GOAT last night, and you don't say LeBron James is the GOAT, after that performance, think about them damn Wizards days. The Wizards days where Jordan, he's old. He can only score 20. He's out of his prime. What the hell are we witnessing with LeBron? He's the best player on the team. The guy they traded for, Anthony Davis, had like 6 points in the fourth quarter. 6 points going into the fourth quarter. Barely had double digits. Here go LeBron. Out-rebounding the whole team, outscoring the whole team, clutch bucket after clutch bucket. Listen, I know your 6-0 argument. It sucks. It does. If you're a Jordan stan, you can't admit LeBron is a GOAT. Your 6-0 argument, it sucks. The leading scorer, all-time leading scorer in the game. Still putting up win after win in the play. We in the playoffs. The Lakers were the 7th seed. They were the 12th seed at the trade deadline. And yet and still, my guy, the GOAT, outperforming this Grizzlies team. Now, I know, Grizzlies, they tough, man. They tough. But they ain't built to beat LeBron, the GOAT. We're going to get into a lot more classic performances. I got to bring my guy Matt in, though, because I like getting his opinion on this stuff, man. He tends to give me a little bit different point of view. But if he comes on here and says, Mike's the GOAT, I might slap him through the screen. I ain't going to lie. Matt, my guy, witnessing historic performances. I am a witness. LBJ is the GOAT. Strive for greatness. All the acronyms. The kid from Akron. I want to hear it all. The king. Crown him, baby.
I knew the energy was going to be high this morning. I had my expectations, but you have blown it out of the water. That was probably my favorite intro to the show that we've been a part of so far. Congratulations, dude. That was what a night in the association, capped off by LeBron, just doing things that only he can do.
LeBron, and like when you're watching it in the moment, it's like, are you kidding me? There's nothing else I could say outside of him. He's sizing it up. This is the shot that nobody thinks he can take. Nobody thinks he wants this moment. They're like, oh, it's the clutch moment. LeBron doesn't want it. He shies away from it. And guess what? When it's necessary, when it's time, he plays it smart. He got to the bucket with 0.8 seconds left, hits a crazy finger roll with super crazy English. Ball drops in the net. Tie game goes to overtime. When they all say he's not clutch, they all say he's scared of the moment. What LeBron do? Gonna cash that thing, boy. That's what he does. That's why he's the GOAT. That's why he's the GOAT, bruh. Like, you think about it. Dylan Brooks talking all that mess leading up into the series. And then in overtime, there's one possession. When he comes down, you know, everybody that's not a LeBron fan, he's going to pass the ball. He's going to pass it. And what LeBron do? He said, Dylan Brooks, you're mine. Took his soul, went right at him, bodied him, and then screamed. I've seen LeBron scream a lot, but I ain't never seen no passionate scream like that.
No.
That was crazy, bro. The game was insane. And like, that's not to just take away from an incredible Lakers performance, because D'Angelo Russell balled out in that fourth quarter as well.
And LeBron almost had the greatest game winner I have ever seen. That would have been like the greatest sports moment, I think, in my life if he had hit that. That was just the fact that went in. I mean, everyone knew it was past the buzzer, but still, like that, I knew the Lakers were gonna win the second that. Like I knew the Grizzlies were toasting.
I mean, literally was like 0.4 seconds away from that being. And you know, it's tough because when in the moment you want to crown something as like, this is the best we've ever seen, and you forget about a lot of incredible moments. But going back through time, that would have been the greatest game winner in NBA history, bar none. Like from 3/4 of the court away, not even looking at the hoop. He just catches it and throws it two-handed from 3/4 of the court away, and it swishes. It wasn't like it backboarded, lucky shot in. It was net. Like that's why he's the GOAT, bro. We seen him. Remember back in the Cleveland days? I know you were a little bit younger back then. But back in the Cleveland days, he used to throw those half-court shots or like full-court shots at the end of practice. He still has that shit in his bag, bro.
No, and D'Angelo Russell, like I kind of got some J.R. Smith vibes there, where he hit like 3 threes and then fouls out and heads to the bench and lets LeBron do the rest. Like that was, but D'Angelo Russell was fantastic, and I think when I look back at that game, you know, that little stretch from him was a huge part to their success and the fact they were able to win it in the long end.
I mean, ice in his veins. We've seen that from D-Russ before. And we talk about the trade deadline and how important it was to the Laker team earlier on in this, before the postseason even started, Matt. We talked about how this team has improved. They were the best team since the trade deadline. Defensively, they were locked in. And you see it. They're able to get stops. They're able to hit big buckets. And it's not just LeBron and AD, because we've seen AD go down a couple times. He keeps getting back up. But what happens if he does go down? Austin Reeves has stepped up. Rui Hachimura has stepped up. D'Angelo Russell has stepped up. We see Malik Beasley really slow. He hit a couple big threes yesterday and stepped up. Like, there's members of his team that can come in and make an impact. It's not all LeBron and AD like it used to be in years past. So it's been kind of crazy. And, you know, on the other side of the ball, obviously the Grizzlies, man, it looked like they were going to run away with it. Jaren Jackson with a huge block there in the fourth quarter. And then Ja Morant with the crazy Google eyes assist. That shit was crazy. Behind the back, left-handed on the fast break. Amazing dish to take the lead. At that point, the momentum was kind of carrying. I was concerned Memphis was going to get the win. Like I was genuinely concerned, like as a Laker fan, that Memphis was going to run away from it. But I mean, LeBron with the heroics at the end. Are you concerned at all with this Memphis team? Like, do you think they can go and win Game 5?
I think Memphis I really thought they were going to steal that game. I did. And I can't reiterate this enough. The way Ja Morant plays basketball scares the hell out of me. Like, I can't, like, when he went at LeBron, first off, the fact that LeBron's putting his body on the line.
What was he doing?
Dude, Ja Morant's going to kill somebody. Like, that could have been so bad for both sides of things. And, you know, the court is undefeated. Like, the hardwood, like, you don't win against the hardwood. Like, that just does not. Game 5, got to go into Memphis. I'm excited. I'm intrigued to see. It's so interesting because, like, obviously, Anthony Davis on the defense side of the ball was fantastic, but he did not play well offensively. And again, like Vanderbilt hitting big shots at the beginning of the game. Like, he had, I think, 10 early points. Like, these other guys that are stepping up. And as a Lakers fan, that's so great. That's what you want to see. Like, you don't want it to be, you don't want like LeBron to have to score 40 and Anthony Davis to have to score 30 for you to win. Like, you know, it was a real team effort tonight.
They talk about your record. You are what your record is. And this is absolutely not the case with this Laker team, because this Laker team is far scarier than a 7 seed. They're probably a top 3 team in the West, like easily. And they can compete against any of the teams in the West. It's going to come down to them, the Warriors, the Suns, the Nuggets. We'll talk about the Suns here in a little. I mean, the Warriors here in a little bit. Obviously, some big news out of that series. But man, like, that excitement, the way that they're playing right now, they have so much momentum playing behind LeBron right now. And, you know, it is kind of interesting to see what's happened with AD, like how he's just not a part of this picture right now. He's been so inconsistent this series, but the thing is, they haven't needed him. So when they do get a big performance out of AD, it's going to come at the right time. I'm not too mad at it. There was, like, even AD offensively, maybe he wasn't there, but he had some really, really big plays defensively, some big blocks there. Him and Braun were going crazy here with the blocks in the first half, and then Jaren Jackson in the second half. So it was kind of a block party there in LA last night.
And Justin, think about it though for a second. Let's go back to what you just said there. Both these playing teams are up 3-1. You know, on the
Yeah.
East, you have Miami that's up 3-1 we're going to talk about it at some point on the 1 seed, and then the Lakers. And I think it again goes to show that these teams aren't what the record says and their seeding. It's just been crazy. And what a night, man. That was
a
fantastic.
crazy night overall. Like the energy level, I think it did stem a little bit from the first game, which we'll get into here in a minute. It stemmed from that Bucks Heat game, but the energy in that LA game was crazy. In the fourth quarter, like as a basketball fan, we're getting some great play in the playoffs, and a lot of it is because of these individual battles, right? They're talking mess to each other. These teams kind of know each other now. There's been some long, rivalry between them. We saw this Grizzlies team talking a lot of mess to the Lakers earlier this season, and now later into the season as well. But guess what? I don't hear. Is my mic up? Like I don't hear anything now. I don't hear anything from this Memphis team. Ja and Dillon Brooks both walked out of media availability after Dillon Brooks running his mouth about the old man. He's 40. I want to see him drop 40 on him. Like, where are you at, Dillon Brooks? Talk shit, and then I'm the victim now. They pinned me as a villain.
Ooh.
No, you did that, Dillon Brooks. You did that, and now you have to own up to your talking. You riled up this Lakers team. This team's playing behind LeBron right now. You can feel the energy, and Dillon Brooks is definitely a target, man. How you feel about that? Because these guys have been popping all year. I'm fine, and Ja Morant, I'm fine in the West. Yeah, let's see how fine you are in 2 more games.
Yeah, karma's a bitch, and I don't feel bad for any of these. Like, this Grizzly team has asked for it all year long. I still will look back at Dillon Brooks's comments like, okay, you want to talk after you beat LeBron and the Lakers and you don't have to deal with them? Go for it. I still think that's a low blow. But to say something in the middle of a 1-1 series, like, I will never understand that. And, if the Lakers go on to win game 5 and Memphis doesn't win a game after that comment, we're going to look back at this and think to ourselves, like, that was an all-time just clown moment.
We've seen that happen before in the playoffs with players talking, and, to do that going into LA. And like this series, there's no way it lasts more than 2 games. Like maybe Memphis gets a win at home, but there's no way this thing lasts. They're winning in LA. They might win in Memphis. The Lakers are winning in LA. This series is over. And it's one of those things where this could have been avoided talking wise, but the Lakers were already the better team with the key injuries to the Grizzlies. Now, I don't want to down talk this Grizzlies team too much because they did play a really good basketball game yesterday. They had times where they were up in this game and it looked like they were going to win. It's just the other stuff, right? We've seen them look good. They have to address that this offseason. I know the tenacity is there, and this team really, like, it's a talented team. I want to like this team, but a lot of times when they're not playing well, discipline-wise, that's when they start to fall off. When they're talking, when they can't back up the talk, you notice their energy goes down. So it's a younger team, and we kind of have to see some growing pains with that. LeBron, AD, they've been on the championship run. The Warriors been on the championship run. KD has been on the championship run. That whole Suns team, there's been a lot of guys that have playoff experience. In order for this Memphis team to really take that next level, we've seen the immaturity with Ja Morant this offseason. As a whole, Dillon Brooks, like, they got to elevate that level of just maturity. Like, they have to get to that point. When you see a team with maturity, you absolutely know it, right? And in the first game of the doubleheader, Matt, yeah, don't shake. Oh my goodness, the Heat and Bucks. What an incredible performance from Jimmy Butler in that first game. 56 points en route to a victory yesterday. It was crazy to see how that all transpired. I don't know if you got a chance to catch the game in full.
Oh, yeah.
With about 5 minutes left in the fourth quarter, it was a 12-point game. It looked like it was Bucks were kind of owning it. Looked like they were in coast mode. Brook Lopez had an incredible performance, over 30 points. And then all of a sudden, we see Caleb Martin hitting a couple threes, and Jimmy Butler takes over, man. Like, that was one of the all-time performances you will ever see, in individual performances you will ever see in a basketball game.
Yeah, Justin, when Jimmy Butler starts hitting threes, it's over. Like, I think when I look back at this game, Milwaukee, the biggest mistake they made, they allowed Miami to hang in there, and it was like a 7 to 8 point game for most of it until like the fourth quarter. And you just knew with Jimmy Butler on the other side of things that they always have a chance. And there's a lot. I know Jimmy Butler always says, oh, playoff Jimmy's not a thing, playoff Jimmy, but it 100% is the thing. And I will say, since he came over to Miami, he is a top 10 player in the NBA. I really do believe that.
Top
Jimmy
10?
Butler, he is a top 10 player in the NBA. I think, I know he doesn't have a ring, and I get that. And maybe he'll never get a ring, but Jimmy Butler has put in, like, before, this legacy of playoff Jimmy was mythical. I think now it's like at a legendary status. Like, this was just a random game on a Monday night that I'm never going to forget. Like, I'll always remember sitting on my couch watching Jimmy Butler just go off, hit back to back. Like, he just took over that game. And, it's also one of those things. He wasn't just being guarded by these random NBA players. He had to deal with Drew Holiday and Giannis constantly making huge shots against two of the best defenders in all of the NBA.
Bro, he was hitting tough shot after tough shot. He barely missed yesterday. He went 19 for 28 from the field, which is crazy. He only took 28 shots to get 56 points. And it was one of those performances where it reminds you, like, in the playoffs, there's certain players that rise to the occasion. There's certain players that are built for the moment. And in this sport, in life, you just can't take nothing for granted. You got to respect your opponent. We've talked about this as well. The Heat know this Bucks team very well. They beat this Bucks team before. And so to see the Bucks kind of coast in the fourth quarter, the one area I think that the Bucks really, really messed up in the game in the fourth quarter was not stopping the bleeding. The Heat started going on that run. We saw Caleb Martin hit the big threes. They didn't call any timeouts.
No.
That was very strange to me that they didn't at least stop the momentum, because we saw the threes. We saw the big dunk where Jimmy probably should have got a technical foul.
I know,
being honest,
he hung on there for a while.
He was hanging on, shaking that thing. Like that's what you do when you're like 8 years old and you dunk on the little mini hoop, trying to break the rim, right? But I wouldn't blame him for getting a technical there. That was an incredible 12-0 run in a matter of a minute in a few seconds. But the momentum wasn't stopped. So I think the Bucks will go in, they'll go back to Milwaukee. They'll get a win. They have to get one win on the road, and they've shown that they can at least be in position to do so. I think the Bucks are the better team, but this became a much tougher series. Would be insane to see an 8 seed beat a number 1 seed.
Yeah, what an L of a night for Chicago, because Lauri Markkanen, 6th Man of the Year award, most improved, right?
Most improved, most improved player.
Jimmy Butler goes for 56. Like, oh God. Nothing but pain over here, man.
Nothing but pain. We'll get into some other NBA news here in just a little bit. We also did have some breaking news after the show yesterday. The Jets, Aaron Rodgers, it finally happened. We can stop talking about what ifs. When's it going to happen? Is it going to happen? Is he going to retire? Is he not? Aaron Rodgers officially traded to the New York Jets. And I'm like, thank you. It's time. Get it over with. Obviously draft compensation was a big part of it. They did a draft pick swap, 15 to 13. They added an additional contingent pick next year, second to a first. So there was other draft capital involved. Aaron Rodgers to the Jets, to me, it really doesn't move the needle. I know everybody is excited about the move. A lot of the Jets players on Twitter, Sauce Gardner especially, loving the move on Twitter. But to me, it doesn't really move the needle as much as you would think, right? I think there's a lot of excitement. The team finally gets a franchise quarterback. I get that. For the city of New York, they need that. This is needed. And I still think the AFC is so competitive, man. When I look at it, it doesn't really move the needle for them to become some championship team. This is Aaron Rodgers at age 40. This isn't Aaron Rodgers at age 32. And I think while it makes him entertaining, it gives them hope. They can go and win a couple playoff games potentially. To me, it seems more like a fringe type playoff team, a wild card team at best.
Yeah, the bad man's gone, Justin. You know what? I'm gonna have to take a biased stance here as a Bears fan and tell you that I don't care what happens with the New York Jets. The AFC is the least of my concerns. I'm just so grateful that he's out of Green Bay. And if Jordan Love turns into a franchise quarterback, then I'm just gonna burn all my Bears stuff and just call it quits, because at that point, you know what? I can't take it anymore.
He's had some moments, but at the end of the day, and I don't mean to be that guy. Well, sometimes I do mean to be that guy. I'm not gonna lie. But since his Super Bowl, it's not like we've been super scared of this Green Bay Packers team or that they've won anything. He's had some decent playoff runs, but he hasn't taken the team to a Super Bowl. So it was surprising to see that the Jets went all. It wasn't surprising to see because they needed a change. But to me, it's not really feeling like this is a threat to win a Super Bowl. This is more of a move to put fans in the seats.
Yeah.
right? Like
No, exactly.
when you think about it, I don't think there's not a lot of people that are going to beat Pat Mahomes, Joe Burrow, like these. The AFC is stacked. And then in his own division, you got the Miami Dolphins, the Pats are over there trying to make moves, and then obviously the Bills are at the top of the division. So when I look at Aaron Rodgers, yeah, it might make Garrett Wilson look better. It might make some of these pieces offensively look better. The defense won't need to be as good as they were, like an elite defense last year. They won't need to be as elite as they were in order to win football games. But to me, it doesn't really move the needle. The one thing that they did get out of this deal that is very interesting and I think could move the needle potentially is that this deal cleared more than $43 million in cap space. The way they were able to structure his deal, $43 million in cap space. Now the Jets have a lot of money to make some additional moves, secure some pieces for Aaron Rodgers, add additional pieces to the defense, and that's just heading into the draft where the team holds the number 15 pick.
Yeah, no, that's a huge point that you just brought up there. I'm just so interested to see how I wonder where his mindset is at, like Aaron Rodgers. Like, I think he's such a hard player to get a read on, and him going to New York, like if things start off rocky, like where are we going to be at there? I'm excited. I think Garrett Wilson's a star. Garrett Wilson actually went to my rival high school. He's younger than I am, so I didn't get to
Where's it at? What high school? He
went to Lake Travis. I went to Westlake.
Okay,
so
what part of is that? East Coast, West Coast?
It's in Texas. So my Drew Brees, Nick Foles, like all those guys went to my high school, but on the other side, out like Lake Travis is where Baker Mayfield went, and like Garrett Wilson. So it's like everyone cares about football. I played baseball.
Yeah, them little Tice episodes, right?
Yeah, nobody gives a shit that I played baseball. No one cares about the baseball players. But yeah, I don't know. I'm excited. Like you said, I think it's going to sell tickets. I think the Jets are going to be on prime time probably like every other week now.
Yeah.
But yeah.
The Jets chance will be back. Jets. The chance will be back, and I think this will be a good competitive football team, which is what everybody expects, right? Like that's what they wanted. The team was damn near there last year with Mike White and Zach Wilson, able to win football games at least. So I think this gives the coaching staff a little bit of a break. Our producer Nick said it's a move to give Robert Saleh and Douglas's jobs. Like, yeah, he gives them a little bit more time to get things through and actually try to win some games. We'll see now what this Jets team is all about. So I think they get some additional weapons in there. They get some additional pieces, and I'll probably be looking here in the draft in order to do that. So we got a special guest on today. We talked about at the top of the show, Michael Rockman. He's going to be joining us here in just a second to discuss a lot of things. We're going to be talking about the NFL draft, some sleepers, some movers, some shakers. But let's get him on the show right now. Michael, my man, how are you doing today, dude?
How about you guys?
I'm doing well. We've had a lot of smoke screen stuff coming on over here the last week, so definitely want to get your opinion on that. Michael Rockman joins us from Lindy Sports Publications, thegameday.com. He's worked at Steelers Depot, 2-minute drill on YouTube. Shout out to producer Nick for giving me that information. He told me not to call you Mike, though, bro. I was going to call you Mike. He told me not to.
You can call me whatever. I'm all good with anything. I'll roll with it.
Well, obviously there's a lot of rumors and stuff going on with the draft right now. One of the more interesting ones that just came out recently in the last day or two, Will Levis. Now he's trending towards like quite possibly being a top 2, maybe even the number 1 pick. Michael, I'm asking you, what are the realistic chances that this isn't a damn smoke screen?
Yeah, well, it seems like the Texans just can't catch a break, right? I mean, apparently Bryce Young's their guy, and then the Panthers are like, oh, yeah, we love Bryce Young. And then they're like, okay, fine, we're going to settle for Will Levis. And then they're like, oh, we actually we love Will Levis. So I don't know what's going on in Houston. They just can't let anything out without it changing everything that's going on for their draft. Ultimately, I think it's going to be Bryce Young for Carolina. I'm not buying too much into a Reddit thread for the number 1 pick just yet, unless, we get a little bit of identification on the guy and figure out who's, finding out all this information. But, I understand the appeal with Levis. For a lot of people, he's kind of that QB4 of this big 4 going on with Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, Anthony Richardson, Will Levis. But at the same time, you have to understand that a lot of these NFL front offices, they're literally making these decisions with their jobs on the line. So if Frank Reich is making this choice and saying, I need to figure out which QB I think can turn into not just a number 1 pick that saves my job, but someone that can be a star in this league, maybe he sees that with Levis. I personally have Levis as my quarterback 4 compared to the other 3, but, at the same time, I see the appeal with arm talent. I see the understanding with, just what he does as a field general. And I know that, this past season was his greatest, but in 2021, when he was operating in a more NFL-style offense with Liam Cohen as his offensive coordinator, he had some great flashes, and I understand the appeal for the NFL.
Carolina fans, they got to be like really kind of unstable right now, right? They don't know who their quarterback is about to be. And it could be any one of these guys. They were all probably set, like, let me go get my Bryce Young jersey, new era. And now all the Will Levis stuff is coming out. It's amazing what social media, us analysts, what kind of tides we can turn here in the industry. Because there's also been rumors about, quarterbacks slipping in this draft, right? If you would have asked us a month ago, was Anthony Richardson's going to be a top 5 pick? CJ Stroud potentially number 1 or 2 pick. Bryce Young's a lock to go number 1. Will Levis has now entered himself into the conversation. Hell, Hendon Hooker is the number 2 quarterback on a lot of boards. How many quarterbacks should we realistically be expecting to go in the top 5 and in the first round?
So in the top 5, I think you can see maybe 2, possibly 3 going in that, section of, depending on what the Seattle Seahawks want to do. I think it's a great idea to try to get a guy like Richardson sitting behind Geno. The way they structured that contract, I think it just works out perfectly where Geno can kind of be that guy next year. He's proven it that he's a very capable quarterback, but he is getting a little bit older. So allowing Anthony Richardson either 1 or 2 seasons to kind of sit behind Geno, a guy who, kind of came into the NFL and struggled out the gates with a bad situation. He would understand, look, with Anthony Richardson, the tools are absolutely there. The upside is absolutely there, but he needs to hit the ground running whenever he does put his feet down on the ground, or else he could very easily fall into that situation where he struggles in the league, never develops that confidence, and in turn never develops in that skill set. So having a guy like Geno who's been in that situation where the league kind of turned your back on you and, everyone kind of wrote you off as this QB that couldn't do it. And then he came back to Seattle, made it work as a starter when everyone was thinking the Seahawks were going to be picking top 5 because of their own team's record. It's impressive stuff. So having a mentor like that has that understanding of, what it's like to be considered this top quarterback prospect and then be written off as this bust to, mentor Anthony Richardson and bring him up in those 1 or 2 years, whatever required to get him to speed, I think is a great opportunity for Seattle in a situation that really they've kind of lucked out in, because I don't think many people are expecting Denver to be this bad to where Seattle would be picking top 5 and have this opportunity to swing for the fences at the quarterback position. And it's really worked out for them. But at the same time, back to the quarterback question in general, I think we're going to see 4 in the first round. Look, I like Hendon Hooker. I see the appeal with him. I think he's a very smart quarterback, a very safe guy. Whenever the ball's in his hands, he doesn't make a lot of mistakes. But at the same time, this Tennessee offense is one that is really predicated on the space outside of the hashes that is going to have trouble when you're trying to work that into the NFL game, operate it over the middle. And that's some of the issues we've seen with some of these other quarterbacks that have come into the league. Malik Willis last year, looked pretty rough because he didn't make a lot of throws over the middle of the field. Hendon Hooker had a lot of those same type of offensive system reads to where that struggle could happen. Not to mention 25 years old, already out for the season, most likely with this torn ACL. He's going to be 26 when he takes his first snap. A lot of talk about Minnesota being all in on Hendon Hooker, but they don't get out of Kirk Cousins' contract that easily. And if they can work a trade, maybe, but I mean, ultimately right now, I can't see Hendon Hooker going in the first round. I think he's going to be a good quarterback for whoever picks him, but I don't think a team is going to be willing to invest a first-round pick in order to acquire him.
It's quarterback season, bro. Like, obviously, everybody's talking about the quarterbacks, but if we're going to talk NFL draft, we got to talk 1 running back. That's it. Now, on this show, we only going to talk 1 running back. Bijan Robinson. Michael, where does he go? I'm putting you on the spot. Where does he go?
If I had to pick, I think the best landing spot for him would be Philadelphia because, you don't want to waste carries on bad teams. I think Daniel Jeremiah said that recently, and it kind of stuck with me. You want to put these running backs in situations where if they're going to be running, if you're going to invest that much capital in a situation where, a running back is going to be getting a ton of carries early on, it has to be for a team that's going to be able to contend with those carries, or else you're kind of wasting the value of a running back and the prime opportunity of his young years to, trying to rebuild your team. Another situation that I do think would work in his favor in terms of, maybe like a fantasy perspective and just overall production for him, Atlanta seems like an easy spot. If Arthur Smith is able to get, 1,200, 1,400 yards out of Tyler Algier, I imagine he's going to be getting about 2,500 out of Bijan or something. Ultimately, Bijan's going to Bijan no matter where he goes. He's going to be a great running back. But I think you look at situations like Atlanta, situations like Philadelphia, where their identity is running the football. And I think that's where they're more willing to kind of make that pick and spend an early value to get a guy like Bijan to be the centerpiece of their offense, especially in a situation like Atlanta where you're trying to make Desmond Ridder the guy. If you have someone like Bijan who can kind of carry the main workload of the offense, Ritter gets an easier job, and it makes everything operate a lot smoother in Atlanta.
Yeah. Well, there's one thing, I said I kind of lied just right now. I said we were only going to talk about Bijan, but I want to get your opinion on these running backs, man, because there's some names, right? You got Jahmyr Gibbs, Zach Charbonnet, but you start going down the list. You got the Sean Tuckers, the Devin A. Chains. Like, give me a guy. Give me your guy for this draft at the running back position that you think is severely underrated, that has a chance to show out for an NFL team that drafts him. Maybe either A, will get picked earlier than he's supposed to, or B, just outperform his draft position by like a mile.
I think one guy that I really like is Israel Abanikanda out of Pittsburgh. 5'10", 215 pounds, automatically a great frame for the NFL running game. And really the big issue for him right now is he doesn't generate a lot of power because he runs straight up with the ball in his hands. But if you get him to, just operate a little bit lower to the ground, work on a center of gravity, just kind of get that natural lean into him as a runner, he's going to generate a lot more force because he operates with a lot of speed. I think he runs low 4.4s, high 4.3s, type 40. So he's a very fast runner, able to make those Jonathan Taylor-like strides where he's kind of covering so much ground with each step that he takes to where, he kind of just gets an easy run of 4 yards almost every time he touches the ball. You put him on a good blocking scheme, you put him with a good offense, he's going to get some great opportunities and be a running back that's going to surprise in the NFL for sure.
Doesn't have to try hard for his yards. I like that. So he's kind of falls forward. You said Jonathan Taylor-esque. Is that your comp for him?
Not the comp for him. I compared him to Joseph Adai, who's another Indianapolis Colt running back.
Okay.
But I think the natural stride ability, when you're able to cover so much ground with your steps and you aren't necessarily losing that momentum as a runner, is so crucial for a running back. And Jonathan Taylor's probably the best at it. At Wisconsin, you could easily see it where he was hopping forward for like 4 yards, doing a little jump, and then automatically, from there, just crushing a linebacker, running off for another 18 yards. Israel Abanikanda isn't to that Taylor level yet, but I do think he has great frame already. If he can get that power into his game and generate that ability, which I think is an easy fix, just, getting that technique right, I think he has upside that is unlimited and could be one of the better running backs in the league in time.
Unlimited upside. You love it here. Jumanji Hunter is joining the conversation. Shout out to you for being the first comment today. Bijan going 8 would be crazy. Atlanta needs to grab an actual position of value. Bijan at 9 would be crazy too, right, Matt?
I was going to ask, Michael, who are the Bears drafting?
There's a lot of options on the board, and I think the Bears are very open to both picking one of those options or trading back. A lot of people have said that Poles is all about trying to trade back, continue to add more draft capital in this draft by trading down, getting more options later on. If they were to opt to go with a Bijan, it'd be very interesting. I do like D'Onta Foreman. I think he's kind of underrated. I think what he was able to do in Carolina last year when everyone was like, oh man, McCaffrey's gone, that offense is cooked. And then he was kind of just churning out 100 yards every game, helped my fantasy team and, made a fan out of me for sure. But ultimately, D'Onta Foreman's probably not your long-term running back in Chicago. So getting a guy like Bijan to help out and, imagine trying to guard an option play where you have Justin Fields potentially going one way, Bijan going the other, and you're a defender trying to decide what the hell you want to do. There's no right choice in that situation. You just have to accept that no matter what you do is the wrong one.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of these teams are starting to build like that though, where you get, you go and you trade for a guy like DJ Moore. You go trade for an elite piece, then you go draft another elite piece and you sign somebody for a longer term deal. So now you guys, you have kind of the framework of like talented players, superstar rookie, all contract friendly. It kind of feels like the Jets. We were just talking about Aaron Rodgers here. Feels like the Jets are trying to go with that same mold. We got Aaron Rodgers, we got Garrett Wilson, they got pick 15. What are the Jets doing right here? Because it seems like, there might even be an opening at receiver for these guys. Am I right?
Yeah, according to the reported demands from Aaron Rodgers, he wanted OBJ on his receiving staff. OBJ obviously signed with the Ravens. That seems like a wide receiver spot wide open to me. So if JSN happens to slip through to 15, I think there's got to be a lot of interest there to where, Aaron Rodgers is coming from this organization that has consistently kind of ignored the wide receiver spot in the first round. What a better welcoming present to say, hey, we value you. We want to get you everything you want. Then by drafting JSN with that first round pick that he's had with that organization, saying, look, we'll get you all the receivers you want. We'll get you all the weapons you need. Stick around for a few years. Make sure you don't retire early on us. We'll make it easy for you.
Well, JSN, obviously he's the top receiver on most boards. I'm sure there's some others that have higher. But who would you compare him to play style-wise, right? We've heard the Jarvis Landry comps, but is that an accurate assessment, or should we be expecting a little bit more from a guy who is considered, Jarvis Landry, for all intents and purposes, would not be like the best receiver in the draft. So what makes him different than that comp? And do you have a different comp for him?
Yeah, so my comparison actually would probably even more excite Aaron Rodgers, because I compare him to Greg Jennings, who was a former great receiver for the Packers. He wasn't necessarily the most athletic guy on the field, wasn't necessarily this guy that's going to take the top off of the defense with his burning speed, but he operated with such great pace, such great instincts as a receiver, was able to win at all levels of the field to where he was able to produce at a consistent rate. That smoothness in your game as a receiver is such a key piece to success. You don't necessarily have to run a 4.3 40 to be having dominant player. You don't have to be 6'6" to be this monster receiver downfield. You have to find ways to time out your routes, work with the ball speed that's coming at you, and be able to, take that in stride to where you're able to turn upfield and create yardage after that. Or, if you're like a Debo Samuel, you can just kind of catch the ball, break a few tackles, and then run upfield. But, for a guy like Jackson Smith and Chigba, he's not, the 4.3 40 guy. He's not this guy that's 6'5", but he's still a dominant receiver in his own right, because what he does is he paces himself through the play. He works with great routes and very clean technique to where he's operating in such a smooth way to where he's finding himself in open space, pacing himself to the football, catching it in stride, able to turn up immediately, and is going to produce after that. And, a guy like JSN, it's easy to kind of just be thinking that, he doesn't have this flash to where you automatically kind of lower him in the books. But, I mean, Justin Jefferson was viewed as kind of unflashy as a receiver.
Yep.
And then the Minnesota Vikings said, okay, you think he's unflashy? Watch. Chris Olave was viewed as unflashy as a receiver. And the Saints didn't have a passing game of any existence, really. And then, they just kind of tossed it Olave's way. And look what he did as a rookie. JSN is going to have a great rookie season. He's going to have a great career no matter where he lands.
I'm a fantasy guy, so I'm looking at it, JSN. I'm like, all right, where does he go? Landing spot is very important for him, in my opinion. And I think for a lot of these receivers in the draft, we got a lot of undersized guys in this draft. But I want to get your opinion on either the most over. You got to pick one. And I don't know if you're a supporter, a guy that like encourages greatness, or if you're a hater. Like sometimes I can be a hater at times, but most of the time I like greatness. So I want to hear either your most overrated or your most underrated player at the wide receiver position. I'll let you pick.
I can offer you both if you'd like. Let's
do it. Man. All right, I'll take the best of both worlds. I love it.
Sounds good. All right, I'll get the hate out of the way first. All right. Now I'll just say, this is just my opinion. I'm just some schmuck who's watching on a computer screen. I could easily be wrong in this regard, but I'm not a huge fan of Cedric Tillman. I see a lot of people hyping him. I see a lot of people loving him, and I think there's some great aspects to his game. He's 6'3", 215, amazing frame, plays the ball well in the air. But ultimately, when I see him running his routes, it's a lot of very simple concepts to fade route and hitch route. And it's this offense that is predicated on this easy release to where you're automatically kind of getting that opening underneath, to where being a guy who kind of succeeds underneath as much as Tillman did in this offense, I don't see a lot of it translating to immediate success. Maybe in time, getting into that NFL offense, getting that experience in, he can definitely develop, because he's an athlete. He's, again, 6'3", 215. He has the size, and he has nice hands.
Perfect size.
There's definitely an ability to where he can take that step in the NFL and then, just make me look like an idiot. And I'm rooting for him. I will look like an idiot as long as we get more talent in the NFL. I'm happy.
But no, you can't down talk me. Don't down talk that. You got to plant your flag.
I'm sticking to my take. I'm just saying, I don't want the guy to be bad. I'm just saying that's my evaluation. No, I'm not as high on him as others. He's my outside receiver number 14, unfortunately, and that's definitely quite a rough ranking compared to other people. First sleeper in this class.
I'm a dynasty guy too, and I got Cedric Tillman. Like that's the guy I've been targeting. I'm like big body. Man. I kind of like, and you just saying he's the most overrated, bro.
I'm sorry.
That ain't sitting well with me, dog.
Oh no.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to hurt your fantasy prospects. I hope that
I'm gonna do a little double take on him now. Now you got me. You know what I'm saying? You got me kind of thinking about it. All right, you went with overrated. Let's go with underrated now.
Yeah. So underrated receiver. I think there's two guys that really stick out to me, and one is someone that I think should be in first round discussion, no doubt about it, but has been consistently mocked in these third rounds of drafts. Maybe he sneaks into that late second round, but ultimately this is someone that has been a dominant receiver, and that's Marvin Mims Jr. out of Oklahoma. He is an absolute downfield threat. He's about 5'11", but he wins downfield. He can win on the outside with ease. He does it nonstop. I'm not going to fault the guy that gets stuck in an offense that's not as productive as years before. He had to go from Caleb Williams to Dylan Gabriel, and, no offense to Dylan Gabriel in case he ever sees the video, but he's not Caleb Williams. The downfield attack is never happening like that. The consistency in trying to get Marvin Mims the ball wasn't happening like that. And Marvin Mims was open. He's finding ways to succeed. He still put up about 800 yards this season. But ultimately, I think there's so much flash in his game. He kind of reminds me of guys like that Brandon Cooks, where he's going to be able to consistently put together 1,000-yard seasons. And, if he lands in the right spot where the offense is overall just more productive as a whole unit, he's probably going to put up more yards than that. So I think this is someone that has a very nice ceiling and, someone that I think is extremely underrated. Now, for more of a day 3 guy that I think no one's really talking about.
Oh, you getting deep in your bag for this one then, huh?
Yeah, I hate it because I think this guy's an absolute stud. It's Dontavian Wicks, wide receiver out of Virginia. Another guy, 6'3", about 210 pounds, I believe. And, he ran a little slow with his 40, 4.6 guy, so that's not great. But ultimately,
running like me.
When you turn this guy on, I mean, in terms of the tape, you can see so much pacing and smoothness that I talked about with JSN. And this is someone that has some of the better releases I've seen from a prospect in this class. I think, you watch his 2021 tape and you see a guy that can go up and high point the ball with ease, a guy that can easily contest the catch, body flexibility to go up and make a catch, position himself to where he's easily squared on with the reception, but also he's catching out of his frame extremely well. 2022 happens. Tony Elliott is the new head coach. Brennan Armstrong kind of falls off a cliff in terms of his passing production. And there's a lot of struggles on this Virginia offense. And Dontavian Wicks, unfortunately, was a part of that. But there's still so many flashes on tape in terms of pacing with his play, in terms of instinctual receiving ability, and just overall body flexibility and size that I think he brings to the table that, maybe he's not the fastest guy, but I see a lot of similar attributes where I think he can be a Jason Avant type receiver in the NFL and be a very high caliber receiver that people are going to be very surprised with when, he gets drafted on that day 3, round 4, round 5, round 6 range. But I think he's going to be someone that, eventually works his way up and becomes a starter in the NFL.
I love it. I love to hear that, and it's, but the only thing is you start to think about guys in the past who we hype up just based off like size, speed, like later picks, we get like all invested in them. Justin Ross last year, we've had like Brian Edwards, like there's always those guys that end up coming out. Shout out to Jumanji Hunter. He said, Mingo is where I'm sending my hater energy. How you feel about that? Because you getting some love over here in the chat, Michael. So this Rockman guy is spitting. I love to hear it, bro.
Yes.
What do you think about that Mingo comment?
So I mean, I like Jonathan Mingo. I think, when you're 6'2", 220, it's kind of easy to operate in the slot as well as he does. You turn on his tape, immediately you're going to notice this guy is pretty much used as a tight end for half of the snaps because he is run blocking his ass off on the outside. And I think that's going to get him on the field. Coaches like Bill Belichick, John Harbaugh, they love receivers that are going to be willing to run block. And, getting on the field as a rookie is a tough thing to do. But if you're willing to run block like that, you're going to find your way onto the field. You're going to have those opportunities. And Jonathan Mingo is going to get that. Then when you're 6'2", 220 in the slot, obviously he's got to utilize his size a little bit better, but he has a great frame. He has great speed. He has all the traits to be good in the NFL. It's just about working his body to, where he's boxing out receivers, making catch positioning, easy for him to where it's getting clean opportunities for the football. And, when he has the size and speed and athletic ability that he has, that seems a little bit easier. Obviously, easier said than done, and coaching can only go so far, but I mean, the traits are all there for a guy like Mingo, and I think there's definitely a ton of potential with him.
Oh, so we flipping that hater energy and turning it into positive energy. You love to see it. My guy, Rocco, you spin today, bro. We got to, after the draft, we got to revisit some of these takes and have you back on. But before you go, Michael, give me your big take. Like yesterday, we had my guy on, and Sam Wagman, and he said, Trey Lance to the Patriots is like his big take, right? Give me your biggest spicy take. Something that maybe, I don't care if it happens or not. Just give me something deep in your bag that you think could happen in the NFL draft.
I'll stick to the Patriots theme here. And I think this is the spicy level that I'll go for. I think Darnell Washington is going to be the pick at 14. And, first tight end off the board, tight end being the pick for the Patriots.
At 14?
All of the odds are insane. But this is Bill Belichick we're talking about, a guy who is absolutely all about just doing his own thing, marching to the tune of his own drum. And, I look at Darnell Washington, the pass blocking ability is phenomenal. The run blocking ability is phenomenal. He looks like he's built in a freaking lab in terms of just how big he is and how muscular he is. And then he went out to the combine and proved that he's a tremendous athlete that probably just wasn't utilized because they had Brock Bowers opposite of him at the tight end spot. So they could just kind of keep him in and not really have any concerns with the passing game. You get him in the NFL, he's probably going to be the level of blocker that, guys like Gronk and Kittle are in the NFL. If you can unlock even 40% of the receiver that Gronk was, you're going to have a very good tight end on your hands. The Patriots have Hunter Henry and Mike Gesicki both hitting free agency this offseason. Bill loves to draft in advance. I would not be shocked if Darnell Washington is the pick at 14, despite it being such a hot take at this moment.
I think that's a reach, but hey, I like the spiciness of the take. You didn't go safe. Like you could have been like, I think Bijan goes to Atlanta. Like you went deep in your bag though. So Michael Rockman, NFL draft expert from the Game Day NFL. Appreciate you, my man. We'll definitely have you back on here soon.
I appreciate it. I'm looking forward to it. Thank you for having me on.
Yes, sir. Take it easy.
Peace.
All right, man. Yo,
I love it.
Spitting.
Dude, but back-to-back days where these guys are so knowledgeable and giving us so much information that I hadn't even processed.
Yeah,
fantastic. Michael was great.
He was dry. He was like, I'm a flex. That's some good ass knowledge, bro. And I feel like I love to take. He went to the Pats. He didn't go scared. He got to come back on the show, bro. Yeah. He also dropped a name. I don't know if you remember this clip. He mentioned Greg Jennings. You remember that viral Madden video?
Oh my God.
Like, Greg Jennings broke his fucking leg. Yo, that was one of the all-time greatest social media moments for Madden. I remember that like it was yesterday. Greg Jennings.
I wonder how many times Greg Jennings has that mentioned to him in public. Oh my gosh.
Shout out to Nick Durst, man, friend of the family, for getting that done. Yo, Nick, we got to have you. You ready, Nick? Let me know if you're ready in the back, bro. We got to have your thoughts on the draft, bro. Nick, bro. Hey, excellent guest, my man.
That's what I do.
I know that's what you do. Thank you for bringing him on the show. He was dope, man. Have you been paying attention at all to the NFL draft? You all tapped in with everything, bro?
Keeping my eye on it. For me, this is the first year that I don't need to be glued to the TV because usually my team, the Giants, are picking in the top 5. Not this year, thank goodness. So I don't have to really worry as much. So I'm going into this, keeping my eye on some stuff. I personally don't see any of these QBs becoming real stars in the league. Every few years, we get a draft where it's like, this is the big QB draft. All these guys are going to be great. And then maybe 2 shake out to be pretty well. I think in the last good QB draft, which really didn't even end up having that many good QBs, is the draft with Baker Mayfield going 1, Sam Darnold, Josh Rosen. Was great, the top 3 to go out. But you got Josh Allen, you got Lamar Jackson. So
got to take the good with the bad, I guess.
It was 50-50. So the chances of all these guys being stars is very slim. Last year, Kenny Pickett, he was the best quarterback, we'll say. Purdy was good. We'll see what happens there. But I'm looking here.
Think the Giants make any moves? During the draft, you think, or it's going to be a quiet draft for the Giants?
Yeah, maybe they'll trade a 3rd-round pick for a 4th or something, or a 5th. But I think they're going to go. Irrelevant. They need to get a linebacker. They haven't drafted one since Lawrence Taylor, so they won't do that. Probably going to draft another wide receiver because they didn't sign anybody this offseason. Wan'Dale Robinson, he got hurt last year. I drafted him. Of course, they traded Tony. Brought back Sterling Shepard. He'll play about 4 or 5 games before he's hurt again. So we'll lay off him in fantasy football. So they're probably going to go with the wide receiver. They couldn't sign anybody. They didn't get Odell Beckham Jr. They didn't trade for DeAndre Hopkins. So I think the Giants will go wide receiver here right off the top. And, from there, it's kind of a crapshoot.
Well, after a playoff season, it sounds like Nick is in his depressed bag still as a Giants fan. Low expectations. We got to get into NBA, Nick, but appreciate you getting the all-star booking, bro, and then dropping your Giants.
One NBA point for me, guys. If the Heat beat the Bucks, they're clearing the path for the New York Knicks to go to the NBA Finals because the Knicks, they smashed the Celtics in the regular season. They took care of business with the Sixers. They smashed the Heat. So as crazy as it sounds, I can't believe the words are coming out of my mouth. There's a path for the Knicks to go to the finals if the Bucks don't advance out of the first round. The last time a 1 seed lost to an 8 seed, I believe, was the Knicks back in 2000. They won as the 8 seed.
Hey, but they got to get through playoff Jimmy. That's the only thing. The regular season Jimmy a lot different than playoff Jimmy. My man Nick, appreciate you, dog. Let's get into it, Matt. Let's get into these games tonight, bro. We got 3 games on the slate, all 3 won, and some teams are going home, bro. Let's start it off in Boston first, as Nick alluded to. The Hawks going into Boston. It's not looking good, bro. Up 3-1. Is there any chance for this Hawks team to show any kind of face?
I don't even think we've talked about the DeJounte Murray situation. That was what the hell was he thinking, man? I don't understand the thought process. You finally, like your team's already in trouble. You're down 3-1, and then you're going to do something stupid like that. I think they have no chance, and I think Boston easily wins.
Yeah, he's suspended. He'll be out for the game. The series is over, and you could sense that after that loss. DeJounte Murray, man, he's kind of had, he was really underrated in San Antonio, and then it got to a point now over this offseason where he was barking and screaming loud at Paolo Banchero all offseason. He's kind of developed a different persona, or maybe it's just unleashed, but it's not good when you're going up pushing a ref at the end of the game, talking shit to him. Like, you can't have that.
No.
So at the end of the day, I didn't like that, but I think he knew the series was over. This team, after coming out of Atlanta 3-1, heading back to Boston, knew the series was over. This could be a blowout. Like, I don't really see a whole lot of hope for this Atlanta Hawks team. Next game on the schedule, a little bit of hope. A little bit of hope. T-Wolves at Denver, also a 3-1 series. I think the T-Wolves are going home tonight. I don't like saying that, but I think the T-Wolves are going home. But I do think we see another masterclass performance from my guy, Ant Edwards, man. Hell of a performance the last couple of games. I think we see a repeat of what we saw in Game 4.
Yeah, I would love to come on the show tomorrow and, Minnesota's won, and we get to continue to talk about Anthony Edwards. Like, that would be fantastic. I think it's a really tall task, though. I like Denver. I think they can keep it. I think Minnesota can keep it close, but I also at the same time view like the first half. Like, I feel like we're going to know real fast if Minnesota, like how badly, like they're going to, like they want to win this game. Like if they come in with some energy and they take a lead early, maybe they got a shot here, but I also could see Denver being up 10-15 and then suddenly, it's a 20-point game in the third.
Denver was up 3-0 in this series. If for some reason, I don't think this happens, but if for some reason Minnesota wins the game tonight, it's going 7. And I think that the Wolves can win the series. If they win tonight, and this is kind of a bold, not even really a hot take. It kind of sounds crazy in the moment. But if Minnesota wins tonight, and it's on the strength of Anthony Edwards, I really think he's the kind of person that can will a team to a victory. Now, whether it's 4 straight victories or not, this Denver Nuggets team has been one of the best all season. I got to give them their props. But if for some reason Minnesota goes and wins the game in Denver tonight, I think they could go to Game 6, go win in Target Center, and then Game 7, anything goes. Anything goes. Last game on the schedule for tonight: Clippers and Suns. Kawhi out again for Game 5. Paul George was on the court before the game yesterday, but 2 days ago, whatever the hell it was, but not expected to play. It's a wrap. Sign, seal, deliver, put the bow on it. It's wrap. It's done.
It's over. And so I think we're in the same boat here. Which team tonight do you think has the best chance of forcing, like, is not going home? Like, if you were to have to make a prediction on one of these teams staying alive, keeping their playoff hopes, who you going with?
Yeah, and all the teams are on the road too. All of them are road teams. I don't feel like, if I had to put a percentage on it, I would go 98% Hawks are going home. 97.5% Clippers are going home. And then like 78% T-Wolves are going home. That's how I'd put it.
Yeah, I fully agree with that.
I need exact percentages. You can't copy my percentages.
I'm going to go 99.9 that the Hawks are going home. This series is over. No DeJounte Murray. I think even if he was playing, I'd probably maybe move it to like 97.5.
Yeah.
I think Minnesota, I'm going to say like 74.5%. I do see a world where Minnesota, like Ant takes over, you get a big game from Towns and Gobert does this thing on the boards and plays really good defense. And suddenly we're asking ourselves, like, hold up, maybe Minnesota's got a chance. I would love that. I think that would be fantastic. And then there's another part of me that just thinks like this Clippers team realizes at this point that without Kawhi, without Paul George, they just don't have enough to get past Phoenix. And I imagine they're going to take care of business. I give that like a 97.5, 98.
All right. Your percentages, Matt, they sounded a lot like mine. It's kind of like when you take a test, you have to miss one to get to make it seem like you're copying. It seems like it's what you did.
You just went first.
Yo, and then one last news piece, man, on NBA, bro. De'Aaron Fox is going to be out for the game tomorrow night. And what a shame, because this team, man, this Kings Warriors matchup was so incredible, and we were seeing a lot of key moments. It was the most televised playoff game in the last 21 years. Kings Warriors, and we're going to be without De'Aaron Fox. When I thought for sure this was going to Sacramento and the Kings would win without their best player, I'm not ready to call it a Warriors gimme win yet. But the Kings, I would have counted it an absolute victory for the Kings. It feels like the series might be over if De'Aaron Fox is out.
Yeah, my Kings fans, I feel for you. NBA fans, I feel for you because like this in the Grizzlies series I've just been glued to the television. Like these have been some of the most exciting first round matchups I've watched in a long, long, long time. And it's hard because like I understand like there's a lot of people like, oh, like Golden State gets by with another injury. And yeah, I agree with that. But also at the same time, I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that, the Golden State Warriors have been in the NBA like playoffs. They've been in big situations for so long now where like, injuries are just part of the game. Like 2019, right? Like Clay goes down, Kevin Durant, like they lost because of injuries. Curry was out in 2020. Like they've been on the other side of things. It's easy to point fingers and think to yourself like, okay, that happened. Remember when Kawhi got injured because of Zaza, and then Fox, and obviously like Kyrie Irving gets hurt, and I think that was 2015 or whatever it was.
Yeah.
But I'm just really, really, really sad. Like I saw that was like that kind of, it wasn't the level of Kawhi being out, right? But I just was thinking to myself, like, you got to be kidding me, man.
And he's the player like we're all looking at is like, dude, we're watching him morph into like a top 3-point guard in the league. Mate, like really only Steph and Lillard are the only guys that I would just confidently put over him. Everybody else would be a question mark. We're watching him morph into that. And to see this fracture, the injury. So hopefully, I don't know how severe it is, if it's like the rest of the series type thing. But we were witnessing one of the transformations into a superstar caliber player in De'Aaron Fox. So you hate to see it. You did mention it, though. Like, that's what teams have to deal with. The Kings were one of the healthiest teams all season long. They didn't really have any significant injuries like all the rest of the teams in the playoffs pretty much did. So hate to see it happen that way, but it is what it is, man. So we'll get a good, hopefully we still get a good game tomorrow night and a good series moving forward. Other than that, man, anything else you got, bro? We handled a lot. I kind of wanted to play Daily Dozen today, bro. We think we got time to go through it real quick?
Hey, let's do a Daily Dozen.
We got to, bro. If we on the Champions Round page. We haven't played in a minute, so let's go. We got 3 games on the slate tonight. Let's get into this Daily Dozen, bro. You guys have a chance to play along with us. You can play for free on the Champions Round app. Make sure you guys download it. 12 picks. Got to get 12 right. You can 100 extra money if you want to play the cash version. I'm going to go cash today. I'm feeling good, bro.
Let's do another cash.
I'm going to do for cash today, bro.
I feel like if we hit 12, we didn't go for cash, we're going to be upset about it. We're going to be like, damn, we should have gone for cash.
100%. Just to give you guys an idea how it works, right? You get 7. You got to get at least 7 questions right. You get 7 questions right, you get a chance to earn some cash, right? If you get all 12 right, it's 100x. Okay? So we're going to go through its different player props throughout the evening tonight. Let's get started. The first one, Boston's total points, 121.5 versus the Hawks. You think they score 121 tonight?
That's a lot of points, but I like Boston tonight, so I'm going to say yes.
Let's go over, baby. The Hawks, man, they got no defense. They've been giving it up. DeJounte Murray's out as well. This could be a high-scoring game. Atlanta Hawks, total points, 107.5.
Where do you lean here?
I'm going over. I'm going to go over on this number 2. The Hawks can score points. I know Murray's out, but I'm still confident they can at least put up some points. Trae Young is probably going to have himself a field day in the second half when everything gets out of hand. A lot of total points on the agenda, Matt. They switched it up on us, bro.
They changed. I thought we were going with players, but we're going with teams here.
We're going team totals. Throwing me for a loop. I ain't going to lie. Denver Nuggets total 116.5. They're at home today. I kind of like the over in this one.
You like the over? Yeah, they went because they didn't shoot the ball great a few nights ago, and I think they only scored they scored under 110 overtime. So I expect them to bounce back. I think I'll take the over there too. At
home, I think this has the makings of a higher scoring game. Both teams are going to come out hitting shots like you mentioned. They didn't shoot the ball incredibly well last game. Let's rock with the over 116.5. Minnesota Timberwolves 105.5. We were talking about how this could be a close game, Matt.
I want this to be a close game. That's the thing. Like, part of me feels like my heart's in this too much, where I got to put like, I want if Minnesota were somehow able to win this game and like Anthony Edwards goes for another 40 points, like that would be such an incredible storyline. And I feel like we're already, the De'Aaron Fox thing sucks, and obviously Kawhi. Like we need a good storyline. We need something else to grasp onto. What are you thinking here for Minnesota?
Let's go. I believe in Ant. And I think we see another 30-point performance out of him tonight. Now, whether that leads to a win or not, I'm not entirely sure. But let's go with the over, bro.
Over.
We got 4 straight over. 3 out. This team's going to need him to score. There's also the possibility that things get a little out of hand. I'm kind of leaning on the under here. I still don't think that they just let Trey get loose.
Yeah, he's going to probably shoot, 25, 30 shots easily. Yeah. He had 35 last game. He was 11 of 26.
At home.
At home. That's true.
In Boston, things got a little crazy. The first 2 games, he wasn't shooting the ball too well. You kind of have a strong lean to the over.
I can't. What do you? You know what? Hey, you gave me the last one. I'll give you this one.
All right, bet. We're gonna go under on this one.
Under? Okay.
Yeah, under. Hopefully, we don't have to see it. We probably ain't gonna see another Trae Young prop the rest of the year anyway. Jason Tatum, 30.5. I gotta look at. This is when I gotta look because you know what I'm saying. At the end of the day, you know what? No, we're gonna keep with the same routine. Let's go. You know what, Nick? Nick, give us Jason Tatum. Give us Jason Tatum, Nick. Jason Tatum, over or under 30.5? I'm
going to go under. I think big game for Jaylen Brown takes away touches. So I'll go under for Jason Tatum.
We're locking it in. Ant is sitting at 28.5. Do I need to say anything else? Baby Kobe is here. Baby Kobe, Anthony Edwards. We're going over. All right, 3 more. Jamal Murray, Matt. What are we doing? Jamal Murray, 22.5.
I'm going over. I'm going over for Murray here. Yeah, I like the over. He's
playing strong. Playoff Murray is back. What you smiling about, Nick?
He just throwing playoff in front of every player for the playoffs.
But it applies though. Like every year, there's somebody else that comes out and they have a playoff version. Like there's a playoff version of Jamal Murray somewhere.
I'm still waiting to see playoff Paul George hit the bench. playoff.
What about playoff Kevin Durant, Nick? What you got? 28.5 tonight. You think he goes over or under?
That's a pretty low number for Durant. It's got to go over.
I'm picking under. I don't care what you just said. Fading Nick. Last
playoff
one.
Durant, though.
Playoff Russell Westbrook with nobody else on the team. He's going 30 in back-to-back games. I'm going with the over with no Kawhi, no Paul George there. Definitely going over there. Guys, if you want to do Daily Dozen with us, head over to the Champions Round app. Get into action. We're going 12 for 12 at some point, baby. It's got to happen. Anything else, guys? We got Daily Dozen. We covered NBA, NFL. Do we miss anything? We good to go, huh?
I think we're good.
All right. Well, that does it for today's episode, Tuesday, April 25th. For all of us here at Champions Round, Nick Durst, and Bone HD, myself, Justin Henry with a 3 instead of the E. We'll see y'all on the next one. Peace out, y'all.